Namaskar, welcome to Insight to another show. Vyas, and today I'm delighted and honored and thrilled to have the presence of someone who is admired by one and all for his special insight into filmmaking and what has brought this gentleman starting from a tea shop to becoming an international and acclaimed film director as well as writer. Pan Nalin joins me today. More about his journey, but before I bring him to greet you, here is the important reason to celebrate a movie, not a Hollywood movie, made in Gujarati. Cello, the last film, becomes the opening film for Tribeca Film Festival. And for that, with claps, I welcome you, Pannali. Namaste.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And since we are talking about this movie, which is the last show, and this is the latest that you have, let us learn more about it. And based on the little bit that I saw, the trailer of the film looks like it has some autobiographical element.
Yes, yeah. Last film show, as we say in Gujarati, Cello show. It is partly autobiographical. You know, it's inspired from my childhood, growing up in region of Kathiawad, which is near the edge of Gir forest. You know, Amreli district, which is very remote part, and my father used to have a tea stall at place called Khijadia Junction, and which is very remote, and we had all our kids gangs. You know, our playground was railway station, railway tracks, and plus later when we used to go to school, you know, we would take a train and go to school or to watch a movie. Everything we have to go to 1.5 hours to a nearby town of Amreli. So this story, of course, I never thought anything was exceptional, you know, when till many years later. But it's only recently when I started writing, I realized, okay, what we lived as a children was something exceptional. You know, it was simple, it was beautiful. Today we talk about organic food, and you know, this was naturally growing there, and our life was simpler. We talk about recycling. We as a kid used to recycle every piece of junk, you know, and make something out of it. Like we used to collect matchboxes, you know, with the images and line them up like a storyboard and make a story out of it. You know, Raja matchbox. You know, so you'll have a queen matches. So you say, okay, Raja met the queen and he found a banduk, he shot the bad guy, you know, and then other kid will make another story. And those matchboxes were thrown on railway track, you know, so we'll collect it. And
so, Pen, so that our viewers connect with you and this narration well, let us, with your permission, share part of the trailer of the last show.
બધું ખતમ થઈ ગયું. છેલ્લો શો હતો. છેલ્લો શો.
મારે પ્રકાશ ભણવું છે. પ્રકાશમાં જ વાર્તા બને અને વાર્તામાં જ ફિલ્મ.
આ બધો ખેલ વાર્તાનો છે. ભવિષ્યના બધા માલિકો વાર્તાકારો છે.
So welcome back. You just saw a part of a trailer from the last film show, and the future belongs to the storyteller. You have said it emphatically. What makes you say that future belongs to storyteller?
I think the world has changed totally. And as we look at anywhere today, you know, whether it's politics, you know, there is a character in the film, you know, who is a projector operator. He's a simple man, but over the year he has collected this wisdom. So this dialogue comes from his observation of life in modern time, because sometime what is happening today, wherever we look, you know, there are a lot more talented people today than ever before. There are a lot more skilled people than ever before. There are a lot more people with degrees than ever before. But the one who come up might have totally failed at school, might have never been to Cambridge, might not have been anywhere. but they have a oratory skill. They can tell stories. So this was like a comment on that like we see that big companies tell stories to sell their product. Today we see that advertising of all kind is being extremely done well. Like the way they sell all the brand, we instantly want to go and buy it, whether it's shoes or t-shirt or food or a cold drink. And this is all the way the stories are designed to sell the product. Now the people who are making money, the way they tell stories is to hide their wealth. So it's hidden, and we know many billionaires have done it very cleverly. Politicians tell stories to win the vote, and then performance is totally different, which we have seen here in the United States and many other countries. So somehow the storyteller, what we call even in modern time influencer or video blogger, what are they doing? They are telling sometimes story in 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 2 minutes. They are all different. The stories come in so many different shapes and sizes now.
So, Pan,
Yeah.
I kind of take this segue and go to a distant space, and then we'll come back to your
Yeah.
film. And that is, if you have a powerful storyteller who can project lies as truth, then people start buying it. So a storyteller could be dangerous if he's not
Exactly.
wedded to truth.
Absolutely. If you said very rightly that if as a storyteller, if you are not honest, you are treading lies, because we can give a fancy name, we call it fiction,
Yeah.
Yeah, but what is fiction? Fiction is a created truth. But if you create a character, you are creating a fictionalized truth who doesn't exist in reality, and then whatever that character is going to have point of view will also be lies. So that's why the storytelling is a very dangerous thing. And as we see, the good storyteller have accumulated power, wealth, fame, worldwide. I mean, you have so many orators, and you have people who are giving lectures and motivational speakers, and just purely on the power of even though we have so many medias in the world today, still a motivational speaker comes, there'll be 1 lakh people to listen to him. If you are in the US, you go to Baptist church, you'll be blown away. What does the preacher do? He tells stories, maybe it's sort of enveloped with Christian belief and all, but their primary skill is to tell story. Now you can manipulate that so easily that by the time at the end he says, I need to, this is a true story I'm quoting, that I in order to do God's work, I need to go to one day Atlanta, one day New York, one day San Francisco. So I need to buy a private jet. And God told me, please donate. And in 5 days, he had enough money to buy a private jet. Wow. So that's the power of story. He didn't make film, he didn't write book. So if you look, these are the true story. The preachers who have 2233 jet plane, and I've listened to those stories, and I say like, what power they must have, And where I come from, in Gujarat, in Kathiawad, we had a big tradition of storytellers. And not only storytellers, there was a whole caste based on storytellers. Some of them were called Barot, and their profession was to tell story, and they will tell stories for 9 nights,
Wow.
and some of the Kathakar, what is a Kathakar, is a storyteller. So next to my village, there is a place called Mahua, small town, and from there comes Morari Bapu, who is a big Kathakar, and he does kathas in New Zealand, Australia, 5 lakhs people listening morning to evening, and he's just telling stories based on a spiritual thing, but within the spirituality there are stories about all kind. So I do believe that that's where the future is going to be, because ultimately whatever you want to sell, whether you are selling ecology to people, or you are selling, oh, this is bad, or you say, no, I have done peace in Afghanistan, you have to come up with stories. And you have to be such a good storyteller that people believe you, and
So I believe Pan Nalin, because he's a very good storyteller, and he's internationally acclaimed for his art or skill of storytelling as a filmmaker. And this, we are talking about the last film show, but before that, Valley of Flowers and Sansara are probably 2 works with credit to Pan that has been acclaimed all over the world in several countries, and influenced by several international filmmakers. Pan Nalin, when is sitting with us, interestingly, having seen the world, whether it's Japan, Italy, Germany, UK, USA, and whatnot, and having worked with international cast and filmmakers from France or several countries, what is it that brings him back to his language? So here is the last film.
Last film show.
Last film show.
Cello show.
Cello show. Why you made it in Gujarati?
Cello shows, as it was inspired partly from my own story and my childhood, in order to, I realized that the story will have strength only if it's extremely authentic. Not only the language, but even the way the casting, no one is coming from Mumbai or Ahmedabad, they're all coming from, even the cast. So the authenticity was a huge role to play in order to make this film exceptionally accessible. So obviously that it had to be in Gujarati because it would look unnatural if those children start talking in Hindi, because they don't know Hindi. They do speak broken Hindi, but it wouldn't have been right. So that was a big challenge for financing the movie, because we all want Hindi cinema. Like last movie I did, Angry Indian Goddesses, Hindi, English. So now what happens is that, it was a tough journey because of choosing the language. Because very often once you choose the language, you have to find a star within that language. But I realized, and luckily now we know, coming here in New York and showing the film, we didn't know whether we made right choice. I was not even sure that why did I make it in Gujarati when everyone told me make it in Hindi, you'll sell well. But so 3 days later after our screening, the way film is being received here, the way it got invited by Robert De Niro and his Tribeca team that we love this film. This is an invitation to opening to the cinema. And we had majority, American audience, mixed American. We had hardly even any, American Indian there or Asian Indian. So it proved that we made a right choice, because even though when kids speak in Gujarati, they felt they were authentic. The dialogues were not written. They thought this was their natural language, and it's true. It was their natural language. Their body language was very natural. The way they talk, the way they interact, the way they touch each other. So all that contributed to authenticity, and authenticity was really required to this story to move people, to entertain them and inspire them at the end. So that's why.
I am inspired even by watching the trailer of the film, and I look forward to watching the film. But from the trailer, I gathered the color scheme, the tone, the look. It has some sort of a touch of a feel of being a period sort of a
Yes,
film,
yeah.
and at the same time it is fresh,
Yes.
and it has a modern sort of glow to it.
Right.
So that was a conscious.
Yes. Yeah, it was intentionally done because the film is set 10 years behind the time. So what happened between 2009 and 10, many people don't know that the entertainment world across the globe changed completely. There used to be film, 35mm celluloid
Yes,
films,
yes.
and projectors used to be giant, weighing 600, 700 kilograms. They were destroyed overnight, because digital era came in. So many single screen cinema hall disappeared, some shut down forever. So this is the backdrop of our story. The whole story unfolds in a cello show or last film show against this backdrop. So for us, it was important that we make 2010 just a 10 year, which is not that far when you go to region like Kathiawad. The only modern thing would have been the smartphone. Otherwise, everything else is same. The vehicle, the houses, nothing much has changed. The meter gauge railway is the same. But I didn't want it to have a look which feels old, So with my cinematographer, Swapnil Sonavne, and production design team, costume, we said that it must relate and speak to contemporary people, like people living here, because this not, it's a recent past, but it speaks to us today, and now as we speak 2021, it's exactly 1 decade of disappearance of those projectors,
Yes.
and those projectors were melted and recycled. The metal was turned into spoons. The big film reels of all the Bollywood stars was melted, and silver was extracted, and whatever the the plastic and celluloid remain was turned into bangles for women. So we have all this in the movie, and so it was important that we speak about color scheme, because after all it's a film about film, and in every film the color scheme plays a very important role. So one idea was that, but we didn't add any color. We just looked for what was naturally existing there. Post monsoon atmosphere, the green, the blues of the sky, the clouds. We haven't added any filter. That's how the purity of the sky was there when we shot some of the scene. And then inside the projector was very often this kind of green you have here. All the Indian projection rooms were known to have green and red light. So red light was a warning that film is running, watch out. So this in itself started creating an organic color scheme and the palette of the film. So everything with cinema hall has one color scheme. Everything which is Samay's world at his home, his mother's kitchen, his father's tea stall and his village has a nature, green, lake, water. And then once he goes into cinema hall, it becomes dark, and he is transported into another world, which is of Indian popular cinema.
Okay, so let me interrupt you here again, just to connect with you from the point of view of the character or the protagonist of the film. It is inspiring on several levels, and one is, here is a boy who is son of a tea seller, and he can dream big. So he doesn't let his circumstances prevent him from going beyond the limitations of that which he has seen or directly experienced. And he wants to study light, he wants to tell stories, and how this doorway for making film becomes a part of his fancy, and he even have the courage to run away from the school and go to film, and so things like that. So let me request you to take us to the mind of this child.
I think the mind of the child is very universal. Any child anywhere in the world, who hasn't seen cinema or hasn't been to film till he's about 8-9 year old, then one day he goes into this dark space, where suddenly it's a collective experience. People are buying ticket, they all sit, lights go down, then something comes on the screen which is so larger than life, and he's watching a mythological film about Mahakali, and his mind is just blown, and he said, I've never seen any such thing. He had earlier fascination before watching any movie, like the Matchbox we spoke about, or looking through the sunlight through different color glasses, which are again thrown on the railway track in junkyard, looking at his shadows, so there were all these things were there, staging like mythological drama and all that. So when this shadow play, so this child experiences in modern time what people experienced some 100 years ago when Lumiere brother projected their movie in Paris, which was called The Train Arriving at the Station of Chiotat. So what happened there, the moment the train came, it's a famous story, people ran out because this was the first time in the history they thought train is going to come over us, and people were shaken up and some ran to the door, So child has a very close such experience, which is magical, and then he's instantly charmed by this medium, and this technology. Not yet what is being projected, like what is happening, where is this light coming from? Are there people, locked up? Like I as a kid used to think that, maybe earlier, maybe there are some machines, where people are inside the machine, doing a drama. Like there were so many questions which were unanswered, and all you could see is just beam of light with dust particle, and that's it. And that's making a movie, and it transport you and, make you fall in love, and songs. And so that was the power of shadow play, the music play. So this, I think, like as we show the movie here in New York, so many people have come up to us and say, oh my God, this reminds me when I saw the movie. Some of the reviewers have also written, oh, I used to be in cinema hall. This was like reminded of this innocence. And so it's so charming. The medium is so charming. The power of storytelling is so charming. And the impact which is created by sound and image together definitely plays on this young child's mind.
So I actually get so many questions, and then I tell them, wait. So let me begin by looking, or rather requesting you to share your way of conceiving the film's flow. So either maybe you write some storyboard, or maybe the images keep in sequence coming to you. Maybe they evolve as you start making the film. Let us look at this particular film, and as we move along this journey of filmmaking, let us also stay for a second and think about the actors. So while you are thinking about the flow of the film, you also have in your mind who is going to play what. And then let me leave you with this question. How did you zero down on these wonderful kids cast, and was there some training workshops involved, something like that?
Yes, so I think the process for Cello Show or Last Film Show started like long time ago, but I never knew I was going to make a movie out of it. Because very often, once I left my village and I used to go back to see my parents or my sisters, they will once in a while tell anecdote that, oh, we are not surprised you are making movies because as a kid you used to do this, you stole film reels, or we realized, oh, you did this, so there were all these anecdotes were being told. And sometime I went back and wrote, I said, that I don't remember. He said, yeah, you did this, you did that, 3 days in a juvenile home, because of stealing the film reel. So it's only in 2010-11 when I realized, okay, maybe this seems like a time, as digital era is coming. There's a whole culture which was linked with film print, celluloid films, arc light projectors, single screen. Everything seems to be going away. Even the projector operator I had befriended as a kid, he had lost his job, and he could not become a projector operator in modern technology because he could not speak English. So this is how slowly the story was formed. And, and as I went to research further, all the screenplays sort of came back, and of course I went to talk with my childhood friends and whoever was there to say, like, what else did we do? What I might have forgotten? So that became inspiration to write the whole story. Now, when this story was there in my head, certain scenes kept playing, and which often, of course, reminded me of the kids I grew up with. So most of the children, we didn't know that we are from different caste, or one boy is a Muslim. We had no idea. I had one Sindhi boy who's totally African, and till I left Kathiawad, I thought whole India is like that. There are Africans everywhere, because we had so many. The engine driver, even now, you go to the place, there's a whole African village there, Siddhi community, they are known as Siddhis. So I had one Siddhi boy, one was Rabari boy, one was Mayor, so I wanted to look for those characters, and that was very hard to find because in modern cities like Ahmedabad or Mumbai, parents push their children to go on to like a reality TV show, or, they are trained,
Right.
and they eat so much of Amul butter, so they are, they don't have the same roughness, which these kids have. So that plan didn't work. So we literally went through some 3,000 children and went deep into the interiors and started going to the village schools and started looking at the classes. From there, we shortlisted some 200, from which around 60 were called to our resort, which was our production base camp, where we did a workshop, with them to spot who are the good ones. And once we made the team, they are called Lala Gang from Chalala. So once we had our kids, then we workshop with them further, and that workshop was how not to act workshop. Because the moment you tell them to act, because they are influenced by Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, so first thing they do is, okay, tell us what you want to do. No, we don't want that, So we had to make them unlearn. Said, no, we are not going to do that. We have to do authentic, organic, just the way you are. So to make them comfortable in front of 100-member camera crew, there's a boom hanging on their head. Sometimes they are wearing microphone. So that was more challenging, and we knew that if we can do that, there would be so how to preserve the naturalness.
Yeah. I think you have succeeded in preserving that naturalness is beyond doubt for anyone who watches the film, and there is always this thing called time. So since we have few minutes, I want to continue towards the final side of our conversation, and before that I want to bring to your attention, our viewers would be happy to know that this gentleman, he, as I mentioned earlier, has worked with many international filmmakers, and there is spiritual longing as one element of his filmmaking. And then I read, and if I pronounce it incorrectly, correct me, Tarkovsky movies. Tarkovsky movies. Then you also have
Kurosawa, Japanese filmmaker.
And then there is style of
Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. So many of these Hindi film goers like me are not even familiar with these people. But the kind of work that Pan has offered to the world cinema makes him a unique filmmaker coming from India. And now as we come to this particular film that we are talking about, which opened the Tribeca Film Festival in New York, talk to me about the name. The Last Film Show.
Okay.
And I gather that probably the theater run guy pushes him out. So that becomes one, but there is more to it.
More to it, yeah. I think what happens is that this child whose name is Samay, like time, he wants to watch movies. Now he doesn't have money. His father is against his wish to go, and that he goes to cinema because he thinks films are bad influence. Because film people have no moral. These were the belief. So the child runs away from school, and he finds a way to swap his school lunchbox with a projectionist and say, like, you eat my lunchbox, but you let me watch through the best seat in the hall, as we say, the projection booth window. From there he watches movie, and this creates a bond. So in a way, this child finds kind of an alternative father figure in Puzzle, who is bitten by time and, doesn't know how to read English, but, he has his own wisdom, and he teaches him few things which impresses Samay all the time. And besides all that, he's of course the projector operator. So their bond is together, which turns into friendship. They go through up and downs of life, and then one day suddenly the management decides to go digital, and then what happens, and this is where their both paths are torn apart, and their life turns upside down. And of course, for that you have to watch the film. I don't give you everything.
Absolutely.
But it's the climax, and I think for the viewers, if you are watching like this week, the film is accessible on Tribeca Film Festival website. And thanks to pandemic, you can even view at your home. So you can go there, on the Cello Show, Last Film Show, and it says, they give you a window to watch the movie. And if you do watch, do vote for us.
Absolutely. And worth voting for the right gentleman who has some relationship with tea selling at the railway station also. Not getting into the other side of this coin, but Pan Nalin, I really appreciate you for taking your time and joining
thank you
us
for
to
having me,
talk
sir.
about this film. And Samay is the name of the character, and one line message: the future belongs to storyteller. So future belongs to Pan Nalin as well as all of us in some way, because we have our own stories, and
Exactly.
we should focus on telling them.
True,
properly.
very true. I totally agree.
and
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And we learned that from Pan Nalin. So once again, thanking him as well as congratulating.
Thank you.
And thanking all of you for being a part of this interesting and enlightening conversation. This is Ashok Vyas with lots of good wishes.